The migration to Abyssinia, current-day Ethiopia, was not merely a journey. It was a turning point in Islamic history, a moment when Allah opened a door of protection far from the cruelty of Quraysh. But before moving forward, it is important to remember what Mecca had become. Quraysh realized that no matter how much they tortured the believers, the Muslims only grew stronger in faith. Torture became harsher, harassment became constant, families were separated, and believers lived every day, not with fear of Quraysh, but with fear of losing the faith that filled their hearts. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, saw that his followers, men, women, and even children, were suffering beyond what their bodies could bear. So he gently told them, "In Abyssinia, there is a king who wrongs no one. Go there if you can." It was a door of hope, a doorway to safety, and a path to worship without oppression. The night they left Mecca was one of the heaviest nights in early Islamic memory. The city was quiet, but their hearts felt like drums pounding inside their chests. They moved in darkness, quietly, in small, scattered groups. A mother held her baby close, praying the child would remain calm. A father kept glancing behind him, terrified that a Qurayshi scout might catch them at any moment. Each step they took was a risk. Each shadow carried danger. But they continued walking, because the words of the Prophet, peace be upon him, guided their feet. Their tears were not from fear, but from the pain of leaving behind their homes, their memories, and most of all, the messenger they loved more than anything. Yet even with their hearts breaking, they chose faith over comfort, sacrifice over safety. When they reached the shore of the Red Sea, the sight left many of them overwhelmed. The moonlight shimmered on the waves like scattered pearls. Some fell to their knees when they saw the water, because for the first time in years, they could feel freedom brushing against their lives. Boarding the small boats was emotional and frightening. Their hands trembled, unsure of what awaited them. As the boats drifted away from the Arabian coast, the land behind them shrinking slowly into the darkness, it felt like part of their souls was being left behind. Every wave that carried them forward felt like closing a chapter of their lives. Pain mixed with faith, longing mixed with hope, but Allah guided them across the sea. When the Muslims finally arrived in Abyssinia, current-day Ethiopia, they were astonished by the world they entered. Green hills stretched across the horizon. Flowing rivers sparkled in the sunlight. Markets were full of vibrant colors and unfamiliar languages. Bells from churches echoed gently in the valleys. For the first time since accepting Islam, no one insulted them. No one struck them. No one threatened their lives. People greeted them with kindness, because the nature of the people of Abyssinia, current-day Ethiopia, was compassion. They prayed freely. They spoke without fear. They walked without looking over their shoulders. Salama would later say, "It was the best land of Allah that we lived in after Mecca," because there, they finally tasted the sweetness of safety. But back in Mecca, Quraysh could not accept this humiliation. Their pride burned with anger. How did they escape? Who helped them? What if they grow stronger? What if their message spreads? Their panic drove them to send two skilled envoys, Amr ibn al-As and Abdullah ibn Abi Raba'ah, carrying expensive gifts to convince the king of Abyssinia, current-day Ethiopia, the Negus, to hand the Muslims back over. It wasn't diplomacy. It was desperation wrapped in arrogance. The court of the Negus was unlike anything the Muslims had ever seen. Towering carved pillars, sunlight streaming from high windows, bishops in long robes carrying golden crosses, guards standing proudly with spears, and the king sitting with calm authority. When the refugees entered looking tired but dignified, Amr ibn al-As stepped forward confidently, accusing them of abandoning their religion and rejecting the king's beliefs. But the Negus refused to act without hearing the Muslims. "Let them speak for themselves," he insisted. Jafar ibn Abi Talib stepped forward with steady confidence. Not wealthy, not powerful, but filled with the dignity of faith. He spoke clearly. "O king, we were a people lost." He described the darkness and oppression of pre-Islamic Arabia, the cruelty toward women, the corruption of society, and the honesty and purity of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. When he finished, he recited verses from Surah Maryam. The words of the Quran filled the hall like a soft wind. Bishops wept as their tears soaked their scriptures. The Negus himself felt his heart tremble. When Jafar finished reciting, the Negus whispered, "This is the same light that came to Jesus." Then he declared openly, "By God, I will never hand them over to you." The next morning, Quraysh tried again, demanding the king ask them what they believed about Jesus. They hoped this would break the protection. But Jafar stood firm and said, "We say of Jesus what our prophet taught us, that he is the servant of God, his messenger, his spirit, and a word he granted to Mary." The Negus drew a line on the ground and said, "The difference between us and you is no wider than this line." Then he turned to the envoys, rejecting their gifts and saying, "Take your bribes. I will not betray those who seek my protection." The envoys left humiliated. The Muslims remained in Abyssinia, current-day Ethiopia, for years, marrying, working, raising families, strengthening their faith, and becoming a protected branch of the early Muslim community. Allah preserved Islam in a land led by a Christian king, proving that truth touches hearts across cultures and religions. And while they built new lives, Mecca was heading toward a storm. Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib was moments away from accepting Islam, and Umar ibn al-Khattab, the fiercest enemy, was on the edge of a transformation that would shake Mecca to its core. A new chapter was about to begin. Because in the shadows of Quraysh's anger, two powerful destinies were moving closer. Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, whose courage would become a shield for the Muslims, and Umar ibn al-Khattab, whose transformation would echo like thunder across the valleys of Mecca. Their stories begin next. So before you go, make sure you like, follow, and turn on notifications, because you won't want to miss the next episode of this unfolding journey. A journey of courage, a journey of truth, a journey that changed the world. See you in part 4, inshallah.